Honored today to welcome the legendary Dyana Williams, a Harlem native, an icon whose voice, leadership, and advocacy have shaped Black music for more than 5 decades. She's a radio icon, the mother of Black Music Month, and a founding board member of the new National Museum of African American Music in Nashville, Tennessee. From radio to television to national treasure, her influence is everywhere. This is Mixed and Mastered with Dyana Williams. Welcome to Mixed and Mastered, the podcast where the stories of the music industry come to life. I'm Jeffrey Sledge, bringing you real conversations with the people who have shaped the sound of music. We're pulling back the curtain on what it takes to make it in the music business. These are the stories you won't hear anywhere else, told by the people who live them. This is Mixed and Mastered. Mixed and Mastered with a legend. A legend. Cannot wait to have this interview. I was actually a little nervous about this, so I was like, I can't mess this up.
No.
Now, correct me if I'm saying it wrong. It's Dyana, right? It's Miss Dyana Williams. How are you?
I am very, very, very old-fashioned, cold, sick. But I did not want to miss this opportunity to speak with you, sick or not. If you can just take a few nose blowings and maybe a few sneezes, and maybe I pass out a few times.
little quick nap.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on the show. This is an honor and a privilege. I want to start at the top. You were raised in the Bronx and Harlem, correct? So where in the Bronx did you live? What street? What area?
I grew up on a very small street called Stickney Place, and it was near Gun Hill Road.
Okay,
I
Gun
was
Hill.
a child in the single digits.
Got you.
I was born in St. Albans at the Naval Hospital, taken immediately. My father was in the Korean War in the Navy,
Okay.
and then taken right back to where my family resided in the Bronx. But I grew up
in Harlem,
in the Bronx, Puerto Rico, Bayamon, and then West Harlem.
Okay,
I make
so
a distinction because, there's some people who grew up in East Harlem and it's a little different. And people assume because I'm Afro-Latina
that you was on
that
the
I
East Side.
grew up on the East Side, which is inaccurate. I grew up in West Harlem.
We don't really mess with the East Side too tough. They're a little different over there. Now, where in Harlem did you grow? What area? What streets?
I grew up, I went to City College as
CCNY.
an adult, CCNY, but I grew up on 151st Street, and my haunts were High Bridge and the Apollo Theater and West Harlem. All of the West Harlem area was my territory. And I went to junior high school in Washington Heights on 181st in Amsterdam.
Okay.
Interesting fact, a lot of people don't know, but I went to junior high school with Larry Blackman, the lead singer and founder of Cameo. Exactly. We went to junior high school together. So we laugh about it as adults, because we were children together before he was in the music business and me as well.
Yeah, I used to live on 150th and Riverside, so I was in that area too.
Well, I was at 725 Riverside Drive.
I was at 730, right on the corner.
My building was on the corner.
It was on this corner, and I was on that corner. Yeah.
Get up out of here.
Mr. Ralph Ellison used to live in my building.
Get out of here. Ralph Ellison, the great writer, novelist.
Yes.
Whoa. Yep. So my mother's bedroom faced the river, the Hudson River. And I would sit in the window and look at the GW, the George Washington Bridge, a lot. Because it was on 178th Street. So, wow, where we grew up. I'm sure different times, Jeffrey.
Yeah, but whatever. It was the same area. It was the same hood.
It was our neighborhood. It was our hood.
Exactly. Go up the hill to Broadway, and it was a lot of action.
Walk up that hill. I remember that walk up the hill.
Yep. So, I want to ask you, and this is a goofy question. Your voice, how the tone of your voice, is that just a natural tone, or is that a radio thing that you worked on over the years? Because you have such a beautiful speaking voice, and the tone is so melodic. I always wanted to ask you that.
Well, you're the first person to tell me that my voice is melodic. I did not work on it. This is my voice. It's just my natural voice. But I will say, I worked early in my career, which is over 52 years ago, being a good broadcaster, but this is the God-given voice. This is the
Okay.
gift.
Okay. You said you went to CCNY. I know you did some radio. You started in radio there. So what was what drew you to radio? Like what drew you into
What
to want
drew
to
me
do
to
that?
radio, interesting question, Jeffrey, because I wanted to initially be a flautist. I wanted to be Bobby Humphrey before Bobby Humphrey.
I
And I
love Bobby
wound up
Humphrey.
meeting her and becoming friends because we shared Hubert Law's in together. And so, yeah, I wanted to be a jazz musician, but you have to be able to improvise to be a great musician. I didn't have any talent, although many years after I studied at IS 201, the Jazzmobile program, I'm sure you're
Yep. Yep.
familiar with because we grew up in Harlem.
Mm-hmm.
I studied with Jimmy Heath, the great Jimmy Heath from Philadelphia, tenor saxophonist,
Yes.
saxophone,
Yes.
flute. And I ran into him in St. Louis, and he was with his brothers. He calls me over. We were at the Four Seasons Hotel. I was
Okay.
there for Steve and Candace McKeever's wedding many years ago.
Steve
He calls
McKeever.
me over, and he says to his brothers, Dyana was one of my best students. I looked at him. I was like, I wanted to bore a hole through the lobby floor because I was horrible. So when he said that, I looked at him and I was like, well, I'm not going to dispute Jimmy Heath right now in front of his
Yeah.
great musician brothers, but I was bad. But I knew the music. I studied. I did like most of us at that point in life. I would read the liner notes. I would study what studio it was recorded in, who was the chief engineer. So I had a very wide knowledge of music, especially the genre of jazz. I love jazz.
Okay.
But I also listen to R&B, soul, whatever you want to call it. Music made by Black Americans, I had an affinity for. But when I discovered that I was a horrible, horrible, horrible musician, I changed my major to communications. And it's where I started at WCCR. Somebody invited me to the station. I wish my brain was tight enough to remember who that person was in the student center. But I went up to the radio station. I didn't even know we had a radio station. And when I saw the microphone, saw the albums, saw the whole thing, the turntables, it was that bright light that said, oh, okay, so can't play the music, but I can play the music. And I enrolled in a class. I learned the basics, the rudiments of running the board, turntables, and the rest I had because I had a lot of knowledge about Black music.
Wow. Wow.
And that was the start, radio. Yeah.
That was the start. And then the next step was WHUR.
I dropped out of college after a year and some change. I dropped out because I knew what I wanted to do. But there was a little problem, Jeffrey. My mother was a college professor.
Oh.
Education was everything in my home. My stepfather was a psychologist. My father, who only went to high school, graduated from high school, was very smart and a very learned man. My father was self-taught smart. He read the newspapers, several every day. So education, the acquisition of knowledge was paramount in my family. So when I told my mother I was dropping out, she was horrified and said, well, how are you gonna, she's like, how are you gonna make it? What job are you gonna do? And I was like, Mama, don't worry. I said, I promise you, I will be all right. And I will go back at some point. Took me 20 years. But when I graduated from Temple University, cum laude, I walked off that stage, later found my mother, handed her my degree in radio, television, and film from Temple University, which is my proud alma mater, where I serve currently on the Klein College of Media and Communications. I'm a proud board member. 20 years, though, it was, and I had 3 children and was working full time when I went back to school.
Wow.
So long answer to your short question.
No, that's fine. So before we get into your HUR career, I have to ask you, how did you come up with the name Ebony Moonbeams?
I love that. I love. I am Ebony Moonbeams. Yes, that was my radio handle in New York. I did a TV show on a cable access channel in Harlem on 125th Street. And as you know, Jeffrey, 138th Street in Convent is where City College is
CCNY is,
located
yeah.
in West Harlem.
Mm-hmm.
But they were able to hear me on the radio station, WCCRAM. And they called one day, the radio station, and they said, can you do what you do on the radio in front of a TV camera? And I always had aspirations for television
Okay.
as well as print journalism. It was always, and live event producing was always the goal, 1819. So I said yes. So I had to give that show a name. And I was walking down the street with a girlfriend. Her name is Sofia De Silva. And we saw one of those spotlights, and it seemed like it was shooting up to the moon or out of the moon. And I said, look, it's a moonbeam. And I had to give a name to the TV show, and everything at that time, we're talking early 70s,
Okay.
was black, was African. It was everything, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud.
Mm-hmm.
So I put it together, Ebony Moonbeams, because I was very entrenched in that movement of self-pride post the civil rights movement. I was a young woman with an Angela Davis afro, friends with young lords like Felipe Luciano. I knew Black Panthers. It just made sense. So the TV show and the subsequent radio show at WHUR 96.3 in the nation's capital used to be Chocolate City. That became my show. I was on at night from 8 till 11.
Okay.
Ebony Moonbeams.
Wow. I like that name, actually. I like that name a lot.
I
So,
have friends who call me. I have my one of my favorite exes calls me Moonbeams to this day, and Barry Mayo, who was a student at
yeah,
Howard with
Ray
me,
Mayo.
calls me Moonbeams. I have several back in the day folks that
They call
still
you
call
that
me that,
still. Yeah.
and I love it. And when you said it, it made me warm and fuzzy inside.
So HUR, because I went to Morgan, and then I stayed down in that area, in the DC area, for a while after graduating. And at that time, HUR actually was the number one station in DC when I was around there, which was interesting because it was all R&B and kind of ballad heavy, but it kind of fit the city. What was the programming when you were there? Was it the similar thing? Was it more like funk driven or college? What was the vibe?
Bob Nighthawk Terry was the operations manager who called me.
Okay.
This is after I had dropped out of school, didn't have a job, had just broken up with my boyfriend, was heart-wrenched. I was back in my mother's apartment at 75 Riverside Drive.
Okay, okay.
And my mother was like, okay, looking at me like, you dropped out of school? Now
What
you
you
have no
gonna do?
job, no man, girl, you ain't got anything but my house and living with me. I had sent an audition tape that was done for me by my mentor, a gentleman named Van Jay. He was on overnights at WRVR FM, which
Okay,
was the straight ahead jazz station in New York, which is really where I had my sights set.
gotcha.
But Faith took me in a different direction. Van did my audition tape, and I sent it to WHUR. And so Bob Terry calls me and says, Dyana Williams. I'm like, yes. He said, this is Bob Terry. I was like, okay, WHUR. It was like the leading Black radio station,
Mm-hmm.
one of them in the country, because
Absolutely.
WLIB,
LIB.
that changed to WBLS
Yes.
FM, really was the number one Black radio station in the country,
Mm-hmm.
run by Frankie Crocker. But Bob Terry calls me and says, can you come to DC for an interview? I was 18. I was 18
Wow.
and I had to borrow Greyhound. I wonder if I ever paid my mother back that Greyhound fare. I had no money. I went down to DC, did the interview. He offered me the gig. I turned 19 the next day. My birthday's in November.
Okay.
So I moved into the Y. I lived in a room where I could touch both walls
Yeah.
because I didn't know anyone. But I knew that I was moving to an environment very similar to the environment that you and I grew up in, which was Harlem, a very black,
Black.
Latino, very black, very, very black, especially when I grew up, which was the late 60s, 68, 69, 70. That period of time is when I was in Harlem. And so there you go. I'm in DC. The contract called for me to get my broadcast endorsement. I had failed the FCC test twice. No,
Wow.
at that point, just once. I failed it again once they hired me. But I signed on to the license of the chief engineer, a gentleman by the name of Jim Watkins. And
Okay.
that meant I couldn't mess up, because if I messed up, I was messing up his
This
license.
is his flow,
And
yeah.
at that time, announcers had to have a FCC third class endorsement to be on the radio. Wow, wish they would bring those days back. But yeah, I failed the test two more times. Third time, I finally they were like, Deanna, you have to. But I was making $6,000. That was my salary. Six
I
thousand
mean,
dollars when
back
I
then
first started.
that wasn't bad, was it?
Well, it wasn't enough to really live on. I mean, it
That's
was
true.
$6,000,
Yeah,
but I mean,
$6 grand. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
six.
I could go through
Yeah.
$6,000 just taking friends to, well, no, anyway,
Yeah.
$6,000. But the terms were, once I got my endorsement, that my salary would be
Right.
increased drastically, and
Okay.
it was, because I
Okay.
became very popular very quickly.
I'm sure. I'm
And
sure.
I hosted concerts. I hosted the first Congressional Black Concert, Caucus Concert with Curtis Mayfield. You know,
Wow.
that became where I really made my money, was on the side, because I
Side hustle.
wound up hosting at the Carter Barron, everywhere. I was the go-to DJ, not the only one, but I became that girl that would host most of the big shows that came
Yeah.
into DC.
Yeah, that was like you said, that was a hustle in that era of radio DJs, either doing, like you said, hosting concerts, or like maybe having a club night or something like that, and people would
Did
come
that as
through.
well. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
did that as
Yeah,
well,
those,
Jeffrey.
yeah. So you're at HUR now. How long were you at HUR?
A blink.
A blink, and you came. Then I said you went to work at a rock station for a bit.
Well, no, that came later. That was
Okay, for
the next gig was Frankie Crocker. They moved me from
BLS.
nighttime to daytime, and I wound up doing middays. Picked up the hotline. It was Frankie Crocker, the chief rocker.
Chief Crocker.
And he started courting me to come work for him. First, he offered me a job in St. Louis. I was 20 at this point. My mother and I went to St. Louis, and my mother is a world. She was the woman all over the world. We got to St. Louis, and my mother looked at me, and she was like, "Way too slow for you, for me. St. Louis is not the move." So
Mm-hmm.
I turned him down. I was doing middays at WHUR in DC,
Yeah,
doing very well.
DC's popping.
DC was popping. And then he offered me Chicago, offered me a ton of money. The owners reached out to me and said, "We cannot afford you." And I was like, okay, so no Chicago, because I was excited about Chicago.
Yeah,
Chicago's more like New York,
yeah.
culturally,
Mm-hmm.
restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
everything. Then he calls me back and says, "Come home." And that was the goal. It was always, I had written it down. I gave myself 5 years to get a job in radio, television, work in New York, meet an incredible man, and have babies. Before the 5 years, I got most of that done before the
Wow.
5 years. So then I did overnights at WBLS.
WBLS. So you were
And
there, but you were doing overnights before Vaughn Harper.
oh, well before Von Harper. I was there
Gotcha.
1975.
Okay.
1975. So well before Von Harper.
Okay.
I was
Okay.
there with Ken Spiderman
And
Webb.
Spiderweb.
I was there. Lamar Renee and I were the two women.
RNA.
But I
Yes.
was inspired by Vi Higginson, who used to be the other woman who was on the air with Lamar Renee. So I came in as the second, maybe the third woman that was on the air at WBLS, then owned by former Manhattan Borough President, Chairman, I called him Chairman, Percy
Percy
Sutton,
Sutton.
and my
Mm-hmm.
mentor, Hal Jackson.
Are you? Yeah. Wow.
Hal Jackson.
So I used to see Miss Vi uptown because she had the choir and stuff, and I'd see her around all the time. God bless her. I'm glad she's still with us. Percy,
Mama, I Want to Sing.
Mama, I want to sing. Yeah, yeah,
The play about her sister Doris Troy, who did the
exactly.
song Just One Look.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. An
Mrs.
accomplished
Sutton,
producer.
Inner City Broadcasting. Did he own the Apollo too? Correct.
At one point he did,
Mm-hmm.
yes. He
Uh-huh.
restored. He was the first to get the Apollo Theater and restore it. Yes,
Yeah,
Percy Sutton.
it's incredible to me that you're literally part of that history. You know, you're literally part of that. Like, you know, a lot of the Percy Sutton, the Gang of Four, and all that stuff that was happening. Like, and you were like part of that. That's incredible to me. Like, you know, that's amazing to me. So I can imagine working for BLS at that time was incredible.
Hetty. I was pinching myself the whole time. I was like, first of all, I was 21. I had just turned 21.
You were a baby.
I was a baby. I was a baby. But I was a very mature woman. You know, the upbringing that you get in New York, especially us in Harlem.
That's moving.
It made me, I was a latchkey child for a period of time, my young teenage years. My mother and father were working. My parents were divorced at that point, but you know, my mother raised me responsible and my parents raised me well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't get in trouble. I've never been arrested, you know, all of that.
Yeah.
I was a pretty good girl growing up in a very tough environment, but it made me able to go anywhere in the world. Every time I travel, I say to myself, well, I grew up in New York. I grew up in Harlem. Like, I have tools. I have tools that not everybody has, Jeffrey, that you
Exactly.
have. Because we
Exactly.
grew up in an environment where if you weren't tough, where if you weren't, you know, whatever,
Sharp.
if you didn't have
Sharp.
that
Yeah.
grit, you would
Mm-hmm.
be in trouble.
You
I didn't have
steamrolled.
trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
knew the gang people. They loved me. I was friendly with, you know, I did good intersection with the groups.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, I was protected and I was cared for and loved
Yes.
young.
Yeah. Yeah. I always tell people that yeah, there's a lot of musical influence I've had, but Frankie Crocker is probably top 3 for me because he played so many different types of music. And it didn't matter, like, was it a rock thing, it was white, black. If it was funky, it was funky. And that opened my mind back then to listening to all types of music. It wasn't just like just black or just funk or just disco. It was like areas of Rolling Stones. It was Pat Benatar. It was whatever was dope. Hall and Oates, whatever was popping. He was amazing. He's a legend.
I call him the dean of black radio, and I really just should call him the dean of American radio, period. I'm readjusting that title because why do we have to? I mean, he was historic. If people don't know, they can do some research. There are some books that's supposed to be coming out and a documentary I've been waiting
Right.
on. But Frankie Crocker indeed gave me the opportunity that I worked hard to be good enough to be recognized in another market. Because keep in mind, Jeffrey, I know for people now, we can tune into a radio station. Like I said to Steve, I call him Stevelin, Stevie Wonder recently, I said, whenever I land in LA, first thing I do is tune into KJLH.
KJLH.
And he was like, you can listen to us worldwide. And I was like, oh, of course I know this. But, you know, we're talking about a time where there was not the internet and you couldn't listen to a radio station unless you were in the
And that's it.
operating region of that
Mm-hmm.
signal of the station's broadcast area. But I wanted to also go back and answer the question about WHUR and the kind of music we were playing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We played 360 degrees of the total Black music experience.
Mm.
So I was playing Bob Marley. I was playing George Clinton, the Parliament Funkadelic. I was playing Minnie Riperton. I was playing everything. We played everything, but you know, I played Hendrix. So we played rock,
Okay. Okay.
but it was Black music.
Got you.
And that, of course, happened when I got to BLS as well, because Frankie Crocker was very broad. But on his show, he could play Frank Sinatra. I couldn't. But on the station, he would play Barry White and he might come back with some Frank Sinatra.
Mm-hmm.
He was the program director, and he was the star. He was the sun. Everybody else was a planet orbiting
Focus on him.
around Frankie Crocker. And
Yeah.
he would say to us, if you can't say it in 30 seconds, you don't say it at all. So there was
Right.
no long talk breaks, which was great for me because I learned how to be concise. That is not my forte. But on the air with Frankie Crocker, and every time you open that microphone, it was WBLS
BLS.
107.9.
Five.
That was the rule. And you closed with WBLS. I was listening to the radio the other day and I heard an announcer and they went right into, I was like, where's the station identification? You open with it, you close with it. It's a standard in
Mm-hmm.
radio. It should be.
It should be. Yeah, I remember Mr. Crocker, like he would, because he had all his drops, WB, like it was nonstop, like tagging, but it worked because you knew what you were listening to, and yeah, that guy was amazing, man.
Amazing.
He was
Truly.
amazing.
I feel
So
like I'm a graduate, Jeffrey, of Frankie Crocker University.
yeah,
That's who I am. I'm a
yeah,
graduate who was able to go on. So the rock experience that you mentioned, that was the WRQX, which
uh-huh.
was WMAL, a network station. And I was the first Afro Latina. Everybody else was white, Caucasian, but I was the first flavor that they brought into the station.
And how was that
My
for you?
first show was 5 hours. I fell out of the studio. I collapsed out of the studio because my upbringing was Black. I didn't get a lot of exposure to white music except for on WABC.
WABC, George
Okay.
Michael, Harry Harrison. Yep. Yep.
And of course, I listened to WWRL. They were
Yeah.
based in Queens,
Yeah.
so I lived
Yeah.
in the Bronx, and the signal.
It was funky. It was very funky. Yes.
But so I didn't grow up with a lot of white music. Whatever white music I heard on WABC. So that very first show that I did on WRQX, whoa. Oh, and we were programming our own music. It wasn't like at BLS. Frankie programmed everything with Wanda Ramos. She was the MD. No, those 5 hours I had to program entirely. So I learned though. I learned about Led Zeppelin. I learned all the soft rock because it was really more of a soft rock rather than a heavy rock
Mm-hmm.
station. But Carly Simon and all those people, and we would mix in a Stevie Wonder but it was rock, soft rock.
Wow.
James Taylor,
Yeah.
it was that kind of, but I love that music and it gave me a broader appreciation for American music.
Yeah. That's amazing. This is like a history lesson. So then you go to Philly, you go to WDAS.
But before that, very important things happened in my life. Remember those
Okay.
goals I told you
Okay.
about,
Yes.
meeting that
Yes.
fine man and
Mm-hmm.
the baby part?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I met Kenny Gamble, one of the architects of the Sound of Philadelphia, when I was hosting an OJ's concert. It was my first, and it was they were there for a few days. It was big. It was major. It was
I'm
super
sure.
major for me because the OJs were on fire. But I was asked to present gold records to Gamble, Huff and Bell and the people at Philadelphia International Records. So I have a picture. I have a charm bracelet, and this picture on the charm is me standing on a stage with all these men. I'm the only woman, and I'm presenting gold records to the OJs, and I hadn't even met Gamble at that point, but we met after the presentation. He was
Mm-hmm.
sitting in the OJ's outer dressing room. I went in to say goodnight, and he was sitting there. You hear that expression about love at first sight? I can testify because it was love.
At
It was
first
deep
night.
love at first sight.
He
So,
sort
you
of.
deal with attraction, but once you get to know the person, there you go deeper and the
Mm-hmm.
attraction broadens. Love at first sight. And didn't know that it was the same for him at that time. And we became friends for about a year. We would run into each other at the NATRA conference and, the Congressional Black Caucus and different places. And we developed a very quick friendship, but
Mm-hmm.
very rooted in an attraction, as I later learned, um, on the eve of my 21st birthday.
Wow. He saw
So
this little bad Afro Latina from Harlem. He had to see what was popping. Mr. Gamble. Mr.
grateful,
Gamble.
grateful. We got three beautiful children.
That's
And I should
incredible.
add, our fourth child became the establishment of Black Music Month with Ed Wright.
Yeah,
So
we're gonna get to that. We're
we're
gonna
going to
get
get
to
to Ed
that.
Wright.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
we're going to get to
yeah.
that.
In Black
Okay.
Music Month,
All
we're
right.
gonna get to that for sure.
All right.
But I don't know if you can tell me if anything's going on, but I'm praying. This okay? Let me run it back. One of the main reasons I started this podcast is because you got your generation like were heroes to me. Like I always knew I wanted to be in music as a kid. I just didn't know how to do it. But like
Mhm.
and then and I got into it, and like to meet like Mr. Gamble and Mr. Huff and A.D. Washington and these legendary people, LeBaron Taylor, and the list is endless. And then when they did the documentary on Mr. Avon, who I also got to meet, and I was like, I want to do something because this generation won't be here forever, and they have amazing stories to tell. And I'm like I said, I'm blessed that you're on my show telling yours now. But I'm hoping, will there be a documentary or something on Mr. Gamble and Mr. Huff and what they did soon?
It's being done currently. I sat and
Good,
interviewed for it a few months ago.
good.
Uh, I it I interviewed with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. I don't know if it's public yet, but I believe Jimmy and Terry are now taking over the Gamble Huff Bell
Good.
documentary. And those are very dear friends of mine. I just came back from Atlanta not long ago where they were honored at the Living Legends Foundation, along with Louise West, also the
Yes,
founder of BISLA and a dear friend
yes,
and an attorney, my
yes.
first entertainment lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yes,
Good.
a documentary is in the works on
'Cause
Gamble Huff.
what they did is like,
Uh, I was complimenting Kerry Gordy, who's an old friend of mine. He is one of Berry Gordy's children.
yes,
And he just did an incredible documentary called Sunday's Best. Are you familiar with it, Jeffrey?
no.
It's about Ed Sullivan.
I saw that doc. I didn't realize Kerry did that. I saw that doc because
It's Kerry.
I didn't realize how deeply Ed was involved with black music and black rights. I saw that documentary. It was good. It was really good, actually.
Kerry. It was
Wow.
Kerry. And we were talking yesterday about our good friend Al Bell. And, we were talking about Gamble Huff and Bell and their documentary and how it's overdue. And same thing with even Stax has gotten more love and attention.
Mm-hmm.
But the Philly International story has yet to be told. I pray that I am still alive, living to be able to see this because I lived it.
Mm-hmm.
These individuals who were part of our recording family, the roster of writers from Carrie Gilbert, Hippie, we called him Hippie, to Gene and John, McFadden and Whitehead,
Mm-hmm.
Linda Creed, all these people who have passed on,
Still Wormsell.
including Tom Bell. Dexter's still
Mm-hmm.
with us. Dexter
Mm-hmm.
and his wife
Mm-hmm.
Judy are still dear friends. Cynthia Biggs, who was Dexter's songwriting partner, who did that beautiful stuff with the Jones Girls and other artists. They did Nights Over Egypt and all this
Mm-hmm.
music that will live on. The artist, Jean Carn, is godmother to my oldest child with Gamble. His
Wow.
name is Khalif Gamble. She was in the room with me for the birth of all three children. Princess Idea is our youngest child, our only daughter, and Isa Saladin, our son, who transitioned a few years ago. So they became family. I mean, Billy Paul, um, Teddy Pendergrass, Harold Melvin, Phyllis Hyman, Patti LaBelle, who's still
Patty
my
LaBelle.
girlfriend to this second. These people, gifted, very talented, and most of them from either Philly proper
Mm-hmm.
or Camden in
Yeah.
Jersey,
Yeah, right across the
which is where
bridge.
Leon A. Huff is from. He's from Camden, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, a beautiful period of my life, one I won't ever forget. I met so many incredible people there. But to see my man at the time blossom as a creative and as an entrepreneur, Gamble doesn't
Yeah.
always get the credit because he ran the business on
Yeah, he
top
ran the
of
label.
ran the label with Huff,
Mm-hmm.
but at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, he'd be in the studio all night, Then he'd be in the office during the day handling the business of a business that was always on the Black enterprise top businesses at the time. We're talking the 70s, early 80s. An incredible company that just has not gotten the love it deserves.
That's
But it
why
will.
that's why I asked if they were doing the documentary, because I don't think people
Yes.
really understand how important they were as composers. Like, they were composers, producers, writers, and businessmen, and A&R people, because they were finding this talent.
A&R people, yes, they signed all the talent, but they were also visionaries. And these were Black men who were not afraid to stand up to the status quo of how
Absolutely.
the music industry was being run then, the bad rates that that people got. Independent labels really struggled. They didn't get the same deals that white labels and the major labels got. And Kenny Gamble was more than just a songwriter entrepreneur. He was a visionary because he was interested in galvanizing disparate parts of the music industry where Black people were functioning and not getting the same kind of respect that
Yes.
other people got.
Yes. There's one, I mean, I'll say this last thing and then I'll move on. I mean, I think I'm blessed to have gotten into the music business when I did, because there were still conventions, Impact, Jack the Rapper. So you could meet these people and talk to them. Like, they weren't like these people that are like a million miles away. Like, you might see Mr. Gamble and Mr. Huff like having lunch in the lobby of the hotel. And you could actually go and talk to these people and like listen to them and hear their stories, and they, give you some advice and knowledge and stuff. And so I think the
So
current
true.
music business missing that a lot on the Black side, especially that having those people being around and
Yeah.
available, because there's no conventions and stuff for people to go to see these people and honor
You're
them.
absolutely correct, Jeffrey. There was also Urban Network, Jack the Rapper. You mentioned Jack the Rapper. There was
BRE.
my organization. There was BRE, Sidney Miller. There was I Am, which was co-founded by myself and Sheila Eldridge. Um, yeah, that doesn't
Yeah,
exist
it
hardly
doesn't. It
anymore
doesn't.
anywhere.
And we'll be right back.
Welcome to Merrick Studios, where stories take the mic and culture comes alive.
We're not just a network, we're family, bringing you smart, soulful, unfiltered conversations.
And this season, we're bringing the heat with our biggest lineup yet. Whatever you're into, music, sports, business, we got you covered.
Merrick Studios, where the conversation starts and keeps going.
Check out our full lineup, including Unglossy with Bun B, Jeffrey Sledge, and myself, Tom Frank. Now streaming at WeAreMerrickStudios.com.
Master the art of lyricism with Pendulum Mink, the first school for rap. Learn elite techniques through immersive lessons, real-world exercises, and guidance from hip-hop icons. This is where MCs sharpen their skills and glow boldly on the mic. Ready to level up? Visit pendulummink.com and start your journey today.
And now, back to the show.
So, tell me about you worked in television too. You worked at BT, you worked at VH1, you're heavily involved with Unsung. Tell me about your forays into television.
Well, as I mentioned to you, Jeffrey, 18, I wrote them down. I have that journal. I still
You
have the
still have
journal.
it?
I still have it. I was a journalist for a long time, so which is a beautiful thing because I can go back and look at young
Yeah.
Dyana and my aspirations and my manifestations. And one of them was to do television as well. I mean, I told you I had a TV show at 18 when I was in
Yeah.
college.
At home,
So yeah, I just knew that I always wanted to be not just in front of the camera, which is someplace I'm very comfortable, but also behind the scenes as a producer as well. And I've done all of that. So my foray early was that Ebony Moonbeams cable television show. And then I worked in DC. I auditioned 200 people auditioned for this job to do entertainment on a new show called PM Magazine.
Okay.
At WDVM TV. It was WUSA TV. And wow, when I got the call, I was doing the rock radio show. When I auditioned, I'd heard about it and they were like, oh, they're looking for it. And you do entertainment and you've been in New York. I went, did the audition. I wish I could see that audition because I remember the energy around the audition, but I wish I could see it. But it got me the gig out of 200
You
people.
beat
So
200 people out.
200 people, I got the job. And I wound up doing, my beat was arts and entertainment in the DMV, which, as you well know, Jeffrey, stands for the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia,
And
which are
North
the
Virginia.
adjacent
Yes.
states,
Yes.
territories.
Yep.
And that was my beat. So whether it was a concert, a play, family activities, on camera, that was my gig. And I had just had our second son,
Okay.
Saladin. I was breastfeeding. I would go out. If our stories went on a little long, I'd have to say to the guys, shoot me from here on up. Because even with pads on and my bra, when that milk starts flowing for the baby, and one time I was out, I had on a silk blouse. I didn't have on my pads. And my cameraman was like, Deanna, your blouse is wet. I was like, time to go.
Oh my God.
I gotta get this milk out of here and to the baby. So yeah, I wound up doing TV and for a network situation, and that
How
was
did you,
exciting. But then
how
I
did you,
moved. I
okay,
moved. I moved.
is this when Bob Johnson was starting BT in DC around this time?
Very, very, very early. But that came a little later for me, the
Okay.
BET experience. But I did entertainment reporting for BET as a freelancer. And Billy Woodruff, the great director, was my immediate report. He was the person who would give me the assignments and I could pitch things to. But yes, that was a very pride-filled moment to work with and for Black entertainment television when it
Yeah.
was on fire and
That's
still new, very young
yeah, very
network.
new, very
Very
new,
new.
very new. It was still figuring it out at the time. Tell me about the VH1.
VH1, interestingly enough, as we talk about BET, my first out-of-state story was to Cleveland, Ohio. I was doing a piece on a new group with two sons of a legend who happened to be a friend to my family and the lead singer of the Mighty, the co-lead singer with Walter Williams. I'm referring to Eddie Levert's sons, Gerald Levert and Sean Levert, who rest their spirits.
Yes.
And Mark Gordon. And I went to, and I did my first BET story on Levert. So, but later, Gerald and I became very close friends. And he was in New York, and I happened to be in New York. And he said, well, meet me. I'm doing an interview at VH1. And I was like, oh, okay, great. I'll come through. I'd never been to the VH1 studios. And the woman who was in charge met me. We started talking. She knew about my work with BET. Okay. She knew my New York experience. She had some sense of who I was. Offered me a job as the music consultant. I was the consultant to the soul of VH1. Vanessa Williams, former Miss America, was the host on camera. I did all the artist interviews. Wow. And I also consulted. So the theme song, the person that did the theme song, I recommended him. His name is Bill Jolly. So I had their ears. So I was behind the scenes, but I was on the payroll. And yes, I worked at VH1.
Wow. Okay.
I interviewed Roberta Flack, Shaka Khan, Natalie
Everybody.
Cole. Everybody. Anybody who was hot at the time, I sat and interviewed them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm skipping around a bit. So tell me about. It's funny. It's funny. We're going to talk about Black Music Month, and just randomly yesterday, as I was kind of looking through stuff, I saw a picture on the White House lawn of the first one. Jimmy Carter and his wife were sitting on the grass, and I think it was the picture was kind of far. I think it might have been you, at one of the tables, and they were just kind of enjoying this concert, and I was like, okay, I need to ask about that first one and about how the Black Music Month came about, and it's still going to this day.
I love that picture. There's several versions
You know
of
the
it.
picture. Okay.
Oh, I know the picture so very well. That picture, there's a White House official version of that photo.
Okay.
And then my very dear friend, photographer named Ron St. Clair, who lives in DC, in the DC DMV area, I invited him. And he was my guest. And he was literally the only photographer that was not behind, the rope. He was allowed to move freely in the crowd of several hundred music industry executives, individuals that were allied professionals at the very first June Black Music Month celebration on the South Lawn of the White House, June 7th, 1979. President Carter and his wife had been seated at the table with me and Gamble and Cardis Collins. She's in that picture. She was a congresswoman, her date. So yeah, at one point, the president gets down on the grass with his wife and their daughter, Amy. And that's why that picture, it's interesting, that picture right now is on exhibition at the In Liquid gallery in Philadelphia. Right now, big, big, big picture. I heard somebody bought it the other day. But it's a very famous image, and it was a declaration. But it's interesting, the brother Taib Smith, who curated that photograph in the In Liquid exhibition of Ron St. Clair, said he loved the power dynamics. Here you have the most powerful man in the world sitting on the grass with his woman very casually. But that's what Jimmy Carter was, a very down-to-earth peanut farmer before a businessman, before he became involved in politics. I was an in love, excited young woman with my man and with members of our industry. And something that we had discussed ad nauseum was coming into fruition. And you mentioned the Black Godfather, Clarence Avant. He doesn't get the credit. I do. Every time I do an interview, I do my best to say Clarence Avant had a relationship with the Carter administration, called them and said, okay, you've had the country people in here. We need the Black music industry because we are a multi-billion-dollar industry. Even at that time in the 70s, we've been generating tons of money for this industry for a while. So Clarence Avant made that initial call, and we were there because of his energies. He didn't look for credit, but I want to give him credit and have given him credit for as long as I can talk about the establishment of Black Music Month. But that was the first celebration, and that was 1979. So let's do the math. Wow. It's been going on ever since. But back in the late 1990s, I wrote President Bill Clinton, and I said, can you host a reception for the Black music industry, much like Jimmy Carter did? And the White House came back and they said, okay, we've gone into the archives. We see y'all were here. We see you were here. We hear your story. We acknowledge. However, President Carter declared June Black Music Month. We have video. We have video of him saying June is Black Music Month. But he didn't sign a presidential proclamation. So they said, go to Capitol Hill, get us some stuff, get the Senate to buy in and get House of Representatives to buy in, and we'll get President Clinton to meet with you and to sign a proclamation saying June is Black Music Month, and every American president after him will do similarly.
Wow. So how did the genesis of it come about, making a Black Music Month? Obviously, Black music is, is culturally important to the country, but how did that happen?
Well, we started with Jimmy Carter that day in front of an audience of several hundred prominent people in the music industry. If you look carefully at that picture, Mary Mason is sitting behind me. She was then a powerhouse woman broadcaster in Philadelphia, Talk. Okay. She was doing Talk. So she had everybody on her show, and she was very close with anybody in power, white and Black. She could get the governor on the phone. She's sitting behind me. Robert Gordy, Barry Gordy's brother, was there. I mean, it was just Barry White. There was a performance. Dexter Wansell was the music director with MFSB performing. Evelyn Champagne King. I'm sick. I'm sick.
A lot of good people.
Chuck Berry was one of the fathers of rock and roll.
Rock and roll, yeah.
Yeah, it was a, Ed Wright was just It was pretty spectacular. So we've been since. But then in the 1990s, when I get us some paperwork and then we'll set you up. And they did. They
Yeah.
honored. It took me about 2 years. I wrote an editorial in Billboard, Black newspapers around the country. I was on the radio. I went on BT. I mean, just name it. I got the support
You
of
had to go on
senators.
tour. Hmm.
I was on tour and not a Q-tip of Tribe Called Quest World Tour. I was not on that world tour, but I was on a tour and I just got up on Capitol Hill. I didn't know anything about lobbying, nothing about lobbying, but I was lobbying for the Black music industry. However, I was successful. Congressman Shaka Fattah introduced the verbiage. I got a call. I was in my office that day, and they said the congressman is introducing. And I had written the where they put the whereas in, but I wrote the substance of what it was that we wanted as a Black music industry. It passed. The bill passed, and then I got the call to meet President Clinton in the Oval Office. And I went up there, met with him. He was very congenial, very warm. He expressed to me how much he loved Black music. We knew that because he plays the saxophone. And he grew up in Arkansas. And he grew up around Black folks.
Yeah, because he was poor. He grew up poor.
He grew up not wealthy at all. And he was down with the sound.
Yeah.
He was down with the sounds, the brown and Black sounds. And yeah, I had a great meeting with him. And it was the first, because I had a second meeting with him when I got a call from the White House. We were doing the I Am conference in DC.
Okay.
And the Isley Brothers were on the lineup of people we were honoring with the Diamond Award. And the White House called and said, "Can you come? And can you bring the Isley Brothers?"
You wanted to meet
Ron. I called Hiram Hicks, who was the president of Island
Yeah.
Records, and I said, "We're going to the Oval Office." And it was Ernie Isley, the great guitarist, one of the greatest guitarists of all time.
Absolutely.
It was Ernie, Ronnie's then wife, Angela
Wimbush.
Sheila Eldridge, Hiram Hicks, and myself. And we had a private meeting in the Oval Office where Bill Clinton the president acted like it was Christmas Day when he opened a guitar that was signed by all members of the Isley Brothers.
Wow.
And then he starts citing lyrics, his favorite songs. I mean, the man was a genuine fan, and he was geeking out in the Oval Office with Ronnie and Ernie.
Wow. Yeah. You got some stories, man. Jeez. Tell me about the Black Museum in Nashville.
The National Museum of African American Music, NAMAM.org. That is my heart. My DNA resides in me, obviously, but in that building, in every brick, every place in that building. I mean, I was there, the groundbreaking with a hat house. What is it called? Hard hat.
Your hard hat. Mm-hmm.
I am a proud founding board member, and there are people who were there well before me, who were in the trenches long before me. But I was there as well. Years, maybe almost a decade before we broke ground, raising money, hosting events, spreading the word. So it is a 56,000 square foot contemporary archive of American music made by Black folks and inspiring others all over the planet, and I would say galaxies. The museum is located at 5th and Broadway in the heart of downtown Nashville. Mm-hmm. Our front door is across the street from the original Grand Ole Opry, which is called the Ryman Auditorium. It's the mothership, or the mother, I say mothership, but it's called the Mother Church, I think, of country music. So we are right in the heart of downtown Nashville. And I'm very proud of this museum. We are 4 going on 5 years young. I want people to please visit, go online. You can go to nmaam.org, see for yourself, and then plan a visit. Trust me. It is worthy of your time, your expense to get to this museum. It will fill you. It will fill you with knowledge, inspiration, information. It'll fill you in a way that'll make you so proud to be an American. It's not just for Black people. It is for mostly, I mean, because a lot of Black people, we already know most of the people in that museum. We've grown up with them if you've had the Black cultural musical experience. But it is for, we have people coming from Asia, Europe, South America, the Caribbean, Canada. We have a lot of international visitors as well. So my mission and its mission are to celebrate and to inform people of the enormous contributions that have been made by people who happen to be Black in the realm of music.
Yeah.
It's inspiring. It is. Robert Smith was there recently. He is a multi, he's a billionaire, one of the most successful American entrepreneurs. He's an author. He's so many things. He's an inspirational speaker. I got a chance to talk with him and be even more. Plus, he's fine too. I met him.
I got nothing to do with that, Ms. Williams.
Wait a minute, Jeffrey. I got to tell you. I have to tell you, Jeffrey, because I walk in to the green room and I say, "Hi, I'm Dyana." He said, "Dyana Williams, we've been waiting on you and I've heard much about you." I'm like, I said, "Now you are fine. Okay, you finer." I said, "You finer in person than you are in your pictures." And a couple of my board members looked at me like, "Okay, Dyana, here you go again." But I'm gonna always keep it 100. I'm grown. I'm a grandmother. I'm in my 70s.
You deserve it. You've earned it. You've earned it. You've earned it.
Thank you. I think so. I did call I saw one of my board members. I called her later. I said, "Girl, I hope I didn't embarrass you, but I'm always keep it real." She said, "No, girl, I loved every second of it." I was like, "Okay, good." But yes, I'm a proud board member. I love this institution. I live for this institution because it embodies, Jeffrey, everything that I have stood for in my life. It's everything is in that museum. And just recently, we launched a temporary exhibition to acknowledge my beloved, my dear, close D'Angelo. I just finished doing his homegoing.
Yeah.
I just did his family asked me to orchestrate his homegoing. And with the capable assistance of Aiko Broyard, Marcus John Bryant, who's a producer songwriter from Richmond, former president of the Philly Grammy chapter, Laia St. Clair, Laval Warren, some key people who are in my life that hold me up and down. In a week, we orchestrated Michael's homegoing. Michael D'Angelo. Michael Archer. So, but we have in our museum in Nashville, we have some of my collection of my platinum record for Brown Sugar, some of his CDs. I couldn't find Black Messiah. And we were like on deadline. I was busy doing the funeral, everything. And I just put everything in a box. And I was like, and I saw somebody's comment. They were like, "How can you have an exhibition and you don't have Black Messiah?" I said, "These people don't know. They don't understand." But I did write the curator, Dr. Pierce. I said, "We got to get Black Messiah in there."
Absolutely.
Got to get Black Messiah in there. But long, again, response to your question about NAMAM. Please visit. If you can't go in person, please visit our website. We have so many diverse activities for the community at large. It is a great museum. Just this morning, I was talking to Renee from formerly of Jeanne, because we honored her June Black Music Month. And NAMAM is the official home of Black Music Month. It is. I've blessed it up and given the museum the opportunity, as has my family, to celebrate Black Music Month there as the official home.
That's beautiful. I mean, I went a group I worked with, Tribe Called Quest. You brought up Q-Tip, and they got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I went 2 years ago when they got inducted, and see the exhibits they have in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame are amazing because they have all these, Prince's clothes and all this stuff. But I it's on my bucket list to go to Nashville, and see that museum too. I think it's so important to see our culture, and just just to see and understand what those people did and what they.
So Jeffrey, you were there for the night that Tribe got inducted.
Yeah, that was it in Cleveland. I was there.
Okay. So I am a super admirer of Kamal Fareed. super.
Okay. He's amazing.
I spoke with him this morning.
When next time you do speak to them, tell him that we did this interview. I've known them guys since 91.
Wow. I will. I will definitely mention
Yeah. I
you
worked at
to him.
Jive for a long time. I was an A&R person. On award tour Forward. Small world. That's why I was looking forward to meeting you, because we have a lot. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up, but I just want to say a funny thing, because I don't want to forget. You obviously know the movie Claudine. So I'm going back to Harlem stuff now. Sorry for the people. If you go up 149th Street to Broadway, that's Rupert's apartment building.
Whose apartment building?
Well, James Earl Jones, the character James Earl Jones. Rupert. That's his apartment building.
Oh, on 149th?
That's right on the top. When you ever watch Claudine again, look at it, because it's a building. The way that the entrance is, you'll notice it right away. Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite soundtracks. I was listening to it the other day. Make Yours a Happy Home. The Makings of You. Curtis Mayfield. Of
Mr.
course,
Welfare.
Yeah, Mr. Welfare Man. All of that. That's for folks who haven't listened to the Claudine soundtrack or seen the movie. Jeffrey and I highly recommend it to you. So please do yourself a favor, and maybe even schedule a Black movie weekend where you get to see Superfly and hear the great Isaac Hayes, Cafe Reggio, Ellie's Lovely, all these great soundtracks, Jeffrey,
Yes,
that
I
came
do.
out of those movies. And still, I mean, Spike Lee, I saw Spike recently at Michael's homegoing, and he says to me, we go backstage, he grabs me and says, take me backstage. Back of the church. I want to see Stevelin. And I said, okay, well, I don't know if he's here yet, but come on. And then Spike says to me, yeah, Stevelin, Steve, he calls him Steven, I call him Stevelin. He says, Steve sang at my wedding, and my wife and I just celebrated 30 years or something like that. I was like, and you seem to forget that I introduced you to Stevelin, and you wrote about it in your early books about me introducing you to Stevelin, and then all the great work that they wound up doing, Jungle Fever.
Yeah.
They wound up collaborating. But I didn't know that, Jeffrey. That's great. Thank you for your service, and thank you for your work. I love Tribe. I am, like I said, for me, Kamal Fareed is one of the most elevated people I've ever met. And he and I shared D'Angelo as a very close friend of we have Michael in common. But I have great respect for him, especially what he did in terms of bringing jazz into the mix. Well, you already know.
Yeah.
I just love Tribe. Love me some Dr. Fareed.
So tell me,
Rock and Roll Hall of Famer.
Tell me what's next for you. For you, I know you got a bunch of stuff happening.
Well, this year, for the past few years, I've been working with Welcome America as the director of talent. This year, I did all the bookings of the talent for the 16-day free festival in Philadelphia. Remember, I told you live event producing has always been part of my experience. For years, I did the Marian Anderson Award. I produced curated the Marian Anderson Award, and as a co-producer, we honored Berry Gordy, Gamble and Huff, Patti LaBelle, John Bon Jovi, James Earl Jones. And the very last one that I produced was my good friends, Kool and the Gang, when they were all, the founders were still living and they were there.
Yeah. Wow.
And Wynton Marsalis. I forgot Wynton Marsalis.
Wow. I forgot Wynton. Oh, I forgot you, Wynton.
I'm sorry, Wynton. I'm sorry. And his was one of my favorites because I commissioned an original ballet performance to his music. And I worked with a gentleman named Brennan Williams putting the music together, and Wynton's manager, Etta Rendell, and Misty Copeland. This was Misty Copeland did it. It's on YouTube. If you go to Misty Copeland's page, her YouTube page,
I will.
put Misty Copeland, Wynton Marsalis. It's one of my proudest moments, and a lot of people don't know. But I mean, when I say I conceived, believed, and achieved Miss Misty, and that was a moment. And Wynton loved it. You
Of
know,
course.
I saw him a few months ago, and he loved it, and he was deservedly honored at the Marian Anderson Hall at the Kimmel Center in Philadelphia, which is like our Kennedy Center in Philly. So
Wow.
yeah, what's to come? More booking talent, exposing talent. I'm honored to say that Maori Holmes, the founder of Black Star, an accomplished director, is doing a documentary on my life,
As they
which is
should.
still a little mind-blowing. Um, I'm still coaching artists. My company is called Influence Entertainment. I'm the CEO and founder. We're 30 years young, but I do artist development and media coaching. And I've worked with a plethora of artists. People can go to influenceentertainment.com to see the roster, but I've been fortunate to work with artists in all genres, from Jack Harlow to, oh, it's just
I
countless.
got some
Yeah.
stuff written down here. You worked with Rihanna. You worked with Justin Bieber. I did some
On their
research.
first albums, on their
Yeah,
very
well,
first
doesn't
albums, a
matter.
long
You
time
worked with them.
ago.
Doesn't matter. You
I
worked with them.
know, but I don't, because people say to me, I don't take credit for the success of Rihanna. I was like a little spot. And shout out to Jana Fleischman, who was at the label, who used to hire me. I worked with Neo, so many people, and in all genres. The New York Times did a big feature story on me a few years ago, Jeffrey. And when they did, I found that the writer he started asking me more questions about hip hop. And I was like, hold up, partner. I don't do just hip hop artists. I've
Yeah.
done heavy metal. I've worked with a ton of gospel artists, from Kirk Franklin to Corinne Hawthorne. Shout out to my dear friend Phil Thornton for that opportunity. But he said, well, we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of hip hop in a few years. And my editor wants to kind of key in to the fact that you are the hip hop whisperer. So at first I kind of resented that, because I was like, I don't do just hip hop. I do all genres. I do pop. Hip hop is pop.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
hey, I took the front cover of the arts and entertainment section. I received it. I accepted it. Um, I'll take hip hop whisperer, but I'm a whisperer. All genres.
Okay.
So a lot more life and living. I'm a nana. I have a grandson named Luke Gamble. He
Okay.
said to me, Nana, he says, I'm 10 now, but I'll be 11 next month or so. I was like, boy, just claim the 11th. Okay. So, wanting to see my children continue to thrive, wanting to see my friends and people that I admire and support. I want everybody to win. I'm that person that doesn't want to see people take L's. I want to see humanity win. I get very sad sometimes when I turn on. I'm a news junkie, and I'm trying to be less of that. I don't even like the word trying. I'm pushing back because there's so much going on in the world, but I have to stay informed to help my clients
Of course.
stay informed. And I'm working in the communications field as well. I'm writing. Oh, can I tell you this? I don't know. I'm getting ready to do a major interview for Hits magazine.
Okay.
And the last, I don't think I can reveal who it is, but
Okay.
a major interview. And my last big interview was with Shaka Khan, and I had the cover of Hits magazine. So I'm still doing unsung from time to time, not as much as I did starting in 2008. I also was the co-exec producer on the Teddy Pendergrass episode. That's why I told you, in front of camera, but also behind the scenes. Teddy Pendergrass was my neighbor in Penn Valley and my best male friend until he made his transition.
Wow.
So, it's interesting because I think about it and I'm like, wow, D'Angelo, Teddy Pendergrass, what do these two men have in common? And they were both very dear and close to me. Very dear and very close to me. And I'm still very close to Teddy's widow, Joan Pendergrass.
Okay.
So I want to tell these stories, Jeffrey, just like you.
They're important.
That's until I have breath. I will be celebrating, elevating Black music and culture, living life, touching people, being touched. That's what I'll be doing for the foreseeable future.
Okay. So we're going to wrap it up. Whatever you need, I'll do a quick speed round. 3 questions.
Okay.
Give me your 3 favorite radio DJs.
I would start my 3 favorite radio DJs with my inspiration, Vi Higginson.
Okay.
Second would be Frankie Crocker.
Okay.
And my third would be one of my closest, dearest friends, the maven of Black radio, Kathy Hughes.
Kathy Hughes. Miss Hughes. Okay.
The founder of Urban One, Radio One.
Yep.
All things with a one, including
everything with a one. Everything with the one. Exactly.
Kathy Hughes. Love her.
Give me your 3 favorite Philly international songs.
Ooh.
That's a hard one.
Oh. I would start with the OJ's Darling, Darling Baby, because I am Darling, Darling Baby.
He wrote that about you? What?
I would say It's You I Love by Teddy Pendergrass. And the third would be Jean Carn, No Laughing Matter, that I co-wrote with Gamble and Huff.
Okay. I did not know he wrote Darling, Darling Baby about you. Wow. That's mind blowing. Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. Last thing. Give me your 3 favorite places in Harlem.
Oh, wow. The Harlem I grew up in is not the same Harlem. When I go there now, people are on the sidewalk with their dogs sitting on their laps or in the chair right next to them. That was not the Harlem I grew up in. But are you talking about current now, Jeffrey?
No, I'm talking about whatever you want to do.
Harlem.
It's your question. Okay. Whatever you want to do.
I will start with the Mother Church, which is on 125th Street, and that would be the Apollo, the world famous Apollo Theater. We start there. Second would be, I am an art collector.
Okay.
And I am a longtime member of the Studio Museum, also on 125th Street.
Have you been since they I have to go. I've been. It looks beautiful though. It looks beautiful.
They built up top. It's absolutely beautiful. I was looking at photos of it yesterday, and I was invited to the opening, but I couldn't go.
Couldn't make it. Okay.
So that would be 2, and my third. Wow. You know what's interesting? I thought about it the other day. I have so many fond memories of being a young girl, teenage girl, growing up in Harlem and going to Highbridge. Did you go to Highbridge, Jeffrey?
I'm in Atlanta now, but my last place I lived before I moved was Washington Heights, so I was up in that area. Love Highbridge.
Highbridge, it's a pool for folks who do not
the big pool.
And it
it's
is
in the movie in the Heights. It's the pool's in the movie in the Heights.
Yes, it is. And and I know they kind of butt the neighborhoods, but the Washington Heights, Harlem, but Highbridge for me, or Mount Morris Park as well.
Yeah,
a lot of time in Mount Morris Park is where I saw Sly and the Family Stone for the first time.
I was going to ask you, were you at the summer? So we were at that show.
Yes, I was. And when Amir asked me, I was like, I completely forgot until I saw the documentary, and I was like, wait a minute. When Amir questioned me, I was like, yes, Mount Morris Park. I was there. I was there. So many memories and so much.
Yeah.
But yes, I love your 3. How did I do with the 3?
You did great. These are your experiences. You did great. Thank you so much for this. This is amazing. I really, really, really appreciate this. This is great. Thank you, Ms. Williams.
I'm so honored, Dyana. I'm so honored, Jeffrey, to have this opportunity to have this conversation with you about our hometown, our industry, our friends, our associates.
Exactly.
Common, like you said, Common, I'm sure if we went longer, Thomas would fire us, your producer engineer, and would run out of time. But I want to thank you and your listeners to your podcast. It is a distinct honor to have shared this time and space with you.
Thank you. You can catch Mixed and Mastered on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts. Hit that follow button, leave a review, and tell a friend. I'm your host, Jeffrey Sledge. Mixed and Mastered is produced and distributed by Merrick Studios.